to our next tech talk, which is again on the next generation of AI testing. This would be taken up by Ashwin Palaparthi. So, can I request Ashwin Palaparthi on the stage? He is the tech visionary for AI powered testing at the AI4 Tester startup and is a distinguished thought leader in the software testing and quality engineering. He has been with the computers for 28 years now. In the context of today's event, it is worthwhile a note that Ashwin founded multi-award winning testersdesk.com. So those who are aware of this, he has founded that. A big round of applause to you, Ashwin. And a very early innovation providing generative tools for testers. Testers Deck was acquired by App Labs, where he later served as a VP of innovation and built an array of IP assets. Ashwin is a passionate trainer and has trained few thousands of testers worldwide. That's a very good to know information about you, Ashwin. So can I please invite him onto the stage for a tech talk?
That was a great introduction. Oh, thank you. So we just heard Ravi Lakkaraju talk a lot about AI in testing, especially generative AI and LLMs. So my talk is not going to be that philosophical and that methodological. So I'm going to make an assumption that more than 50% of you are relatively new to generative AI. So if my assumption is wrong, you will have to excuse me, but I'm making that assumption and proceeding with my talk. Shall I? Thank you. So what we are going to do in the next 10 minutes is to get a quick snapshot of what exactly is generative AI and how it is going to advance software testing. And of course, most of us are already aware of ChatGPT, and we will talk a little bit about tools as well and where we are headed right now. From an innovation perspective, what is it that companies are going to do in 2024 and beyond? So we already know that there are a lot of tools, ChatGPT and things like that. Definitely one, you know that actually Google has released Gemini, which is their latest large language model. It's quite promising in terms of software testing. So I have actually tried to get a glimpse of what exactly it is doing. I was only thinking about, like, there are so many LLMs. So what exactly is inside an LLM? This is one active research that I am continuously doing. And in terms of software testing, see, right now, if you see, where is the entire knowledge of software testing? Obviously, it's in some books, or maybe in ISTQB question papers. Where else? So obviously, if you look at the open source software, the virtue of open source software is that all the bugs that have been found in all the open source applications, for example, there are more than 1 million bugs in Apache web server software. So that is exactly where knowledge is. Now just imagine if all that knowledge gets into a real large language model, which is being used by ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool. If that knowledge marries LLMs, naturally the outcome of what we are expecting today is going to tremendously change with generative AI. Right now, generative AI is at a very nascent stage. Definitely, there are a lot of intelligent things it is already doing, but it's just that what I have found is that LLMs are not trained yet. Most of you might know that recently Sam Altman, or whatever his name is, ChatGPT founder. So in his recent tech talk, he has revealed. Actually, ChatGPT now can be trained. Most of you know that, I think so. So how many of you have actually explored that feature? ChatGPT can be trained, right? So now, if it can be trained, what are we going to train it on? That's exactly one of the interesting topics. So next week, I am releasing one more customized version of ChatGPT, where all that I am doing is optimizing a regression suite. So you give a bunch of test cases, and all that I am extending ChatGPT is to kind of optimize the number of test cases by identifying duplicate test cases, or perhaps combining similar test cases into one particular data-driven test, and so on. So test optimization is something that ChatGPT in today's form cannot do. And with a little, all that I'm doing is just like I have written close to some 20 pages of text on given a set of regression test cases, how can we optimize them? So I have added that to ChatGPT, and now ChatGPT is customized version, which I am calling as AI test pilot, which I will be releasing next week. So it can actually eliminate duplicate test cases, combine multiple test cases into one particular scenario. It can actually play around with the test sequences based on the bug history, and so many things that it can do which ChatGPT cannot do. So right now, I think all innovation that is going to happen in 2024 is about take any LLM, how are you going to train your LLM with testing knowledge? That can be organization specific, or that can be generalized knowledge of software testing itself. So if I open LinkedIn, there are so many self-proclaimed gurus in software testing. I don't want to take their names, but actually we see that a lot of them are kind of either supporting AI or kind of talking that AI is useless. So I'm literally surprised that some of the veterans in software testing are completely against AI. I'm sure that they haven't, even somebody has written one white paper called ChatGPT sucks. It does, because it is a serious replacement of his consulting business. so so the way how I look at it is that obviously in normal computers we have binary thing, means which is essentially 0 or 1, and in quantum obviously 0 and 1 can be kind of superpositioned at the same time. That's exactly the power of quantum computing, as you know. And in generative AI, what I really see is that it is not 0 or 1. There is a huge journey between 0 and 1. Okay, that is exactly what generative AI is. So, so I'm sure that most of you have explored this word temperature in generative AI. Okay, so essentially how creative generative AI can get, that exactly actually itself actually determines the output of your ChatGPT software. So if we really see, there is a journey from 0 to 1. That's exactly where generative AI is. It's not either 0, it's not either 1. So it can be any value between 0 and 1 itself. Okay, so ultimately there are only two types of people who are kind of going to either succeed or fail in using generative AI. People who are good at English and people who are not good at English. That's it. That's so. So actually, impressed by Pragnananda and Vaishali, the famous chess maestros from India. So I just went to this Bing image creator, which is also, again, essentially a generative AI based thing. And actually, I just gave, in a very vague way, brother and sister playing chess, South Indian ambience, highly detailed, photorealistic lighting, 3D and full length. I was literally impressed when I saw this output. But what is the first bug that you can find in this picture? Can you tell? Sorry? I couldn't hear you. Okay. That's a debatable thing. Chessboard? Exactly. So whether they are looking like South Indian or not is a slightly debatable topic. But actually, the first thing that we can really see is that actually here we only see 6 rows. Yeah. So obviously, you know that chess is, I think, 8 into 8, right? Sorry?
AHS. AHS.
Okay, I don't know. So, but essentially the chessboard, the chessboard is definitely wrong. So then what I did is I just added one more line. Make sure that the chessboard is logically accurate. Now there are going to be only two types of software testers in 2024. People who will actually just do this and blame Bing generative AI, and people who can actually add this additional line so that generative AI does its job correctly. So ultimately, that's exactly where human competency still exists. As I told you, it's about whether you know English or not. That's it. Whether you can properly communicate or not. That's the only skill that you have to really focus on. Really. So when I did this, definitely the chessboard is logically accurate, but suddenly whatever creativity it used in terms of, at least these are slightly looking like South Indian faces, but actually here again I think so Bing was so generous and actually it covered some other regions of India or some other countries also. So then make sure that the chessboard is logically accurate and they must look like South Indian. As of course, I did say that first South Indian ambience is needed, but then it's just that, this kind of prompt engineering and how you kind of refine your prompts, that's the only skill that one should really focus on. Okay, definitely there is a lot of innovation that is going to happen in terms of training the large language models with all the worldly knowledge that is available in software testing. It could be organization specific, it could be industry specific, or it could be even using stochastic and random models as well. Okay, so then actually I gave one more prompt. A software tester has found an issue in the application and does not know whether it is a bug or a feature. Is thinking, or he or she is. I did not say he or she, but anyway, I think definitely this is a bias. It by default assumed it's a he. So thinking whether report or not, because the developer may get rude if it is not a bug. So see how creatively Bing has generated this. So every single day things are improving. So if we really see how Bing is going to generate images maybe tomorrow, definitely it is going to be better than today. We're going to be better than today. Just let's look at Wikipedia. There used to be a lot of fake information in Wikipedia at one point of time. But today, Wikipedia is the go-to source for all of us, right? So that's how LLMs are getting optimized every single day. And that does happen for software testers as well. So definitely, we are seeing a lot of bias. But I don't think actually it's a, there is something called responsible AI and ethics in AI. There is a huge conversation that is going on. But ultimately, it's about how well your prompt is. You can always write your prompt in such a way that any bias is eliminated. So it's the onus of eliminating false positives, false negatives, true positives are, of course, we do want true positives and true negatives. If we really want to eliminate false positives and false negatives, I think it is definitely in the hands of the person who is using generative AI tool. I think all of us know this term. This is, I think, when we started learning computers, I'm sure this is the first keyword that most of us would have learned. Garbage in, garbage out. I think most of us have forgot. That's exactly what is happening with generative AI right now. You give it garbage, it obviously emits garbage out, right? So I think we have to really look at how valid our inputs are, so that we get the valid outputs. Okay, now a lot of people are actually thinking that manual testing is going. I don't like the word manual testing. Testing is testing, but anyway, let's just call it as manual testing for a minute. So manual testing is not going anywhere. In fact, actually, what we will see in 2024 is, or even beyond, is that manual testing will become the center stage. Right now, there is this company called Finder. So there, all testers have been given a small chatbot kind of thing, while testing their applications, while testing their e-commerce applications, where the chatbot actually essentially has been trained on all the bugs that have happened in other e-commerce applications in the world. So what is happening actually is, so ultimately we do software testing to find bugs, period. Okay. All the other political testing that is done to make sure that the functionality is working and all the regressions, that will happen anyway. But ultimately, most of the real testing is done to find bugs. Imagine if you are doing exploratory testing and you define what is the sequence of workflow that you are working with, and you get 150 ideas from a chatbot. Obviously, I won't call them as test cases. Okay, we can call them as test conditions or test ideas, essentially. So that idea generation is actually we will be tremendously surprised if we actually talk about how errors can happen. And for example, see, I used to develop something called WCGR databases 20 years back. Essentially, WCGR was acronym, but what can go wrong? Essentially, when you are testing something, you want to know what can go wrong, right? So if you actually know what can go wrong, obviously you will check whether the particular functionality is working properly or not. It's not requirements-based testing, right? It's common sense. And also your understanding of things that can go wrong. So if you can actually automate, or if you can train your chatbot on what can essentially go wrong, naturally there will always be a case where you are testing a particular application, you just define the flow, or even actually, like, see, ultimately if we use all these low code, no code tools or whatever, what are they doing? They are actually recording your own interaction with software, and they are actually capturing the overall logical workflow, right? So if that logical workflow is captured, generative AI tools can be used with information on what can potentially go wrong, and generate so many test ideas where you can essentially find bugs very quickly. Yeah, essentially what we are going to see is exploratory testing is a very big art, and with right skills of prompt engineering, you can get so many ideas instantly. It doesn't matter how many ideas are valid or not. Obviously, it is you as a human being who has to use your common sense to really look at. Just 2 minutes. So, ultimately, exploratory testing can be extended with the number of ideas that you can actually put to action and see and uncover essentially bugs. So, definitely, exploratory testing is going to take the center stage with the number of ideas that whether it is ChatGPT. I don't even think about security as an issue. Already ChatGPT, all the vendors are actually providing enterprise level security features also. So if you are really talking about security as a big concern, what about cloud? Obviously, cloud also has the same security challenges, right? So, and who is not using cloud today? Same thing with generative AI tools as well. Yeah, and of course, I'm sure most of you know that for most of the mundane code, for any of the tools like Selenium or Playwright or actually Postman, definitely this is something that I personally have taken a REST API, and I was able to generate sensible test cases, more than 100 sensible test cases for just 3 parameters with that an API had for Postman using ChatGPT. So definitely there, the thing is, my prompt was almost like 200 lines. The prompts that I have shown you in the beginning of this presentation are the most ugly prompts, and that's not how real prompts look like. Your prompt can actually run into your prompt is like your imaginary story of the entire thing, where you have to elaborate with every single detail. Definitely, then you are going to see excellent outputs. So prompt engineering is your next big skill that you have to acquire. And for that, definitely there is nothing wrong in joining spoken English course once again. Yeah, I think most of the other points that I wanted to talk are self-explanatory. I don't think. I think. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So, I'll just end on this slide. So when you look at prompt engineering, how structured it is, how detailed you are going to get, what are the conditions and rules that you are going to set. Of course, the context and ethics, the bias factor of it, and of course, the art of asking. In fact, actually, there is a book also, The Art of Asking. There is nothing wrong in reading that book once again. In fact, I myself actually have been listening to that audio book like 3-4 months back once again, The Art of Asking. Okay. So there are so many philosophical high-end level books. I am not talking all of that art of asking. The art of asking is the key takeaway from this thing. And obviously, if the output is not correct, how are you going to provide the feedback, and how are you going to run the feedback loop until you get the desired outcome? Definitely, that's also one of the skill that one has to develop. And ultimately, as I told you, what can go wrong? If you can define what can go wrong, definitely that, in fact, you can ask ChatGPT on, okay, here is the functionality that I am testing. Typically, what are the 20 damages that can happen? Or if you find a bug, and if you are writing if you have to convince your developers with your finding of a bug, obviously you can actually tell what are the potential damage cases or the abuse cases of a given functionality that particular bug can lead to. So definitely you can narrate that narratives also you can generate using ChatGPT, or I'm just using ChatGPT. It could be Microsoft Copilot or any other generative AI tool for that matter. Sorry, just one more thing. So, Shantanu was talking about UPI and Chandrayaan. So, I just wanted to tell essentially chaos engineering, prevention of defects, all these things. I just want you to, as an exercise, search for the word poka-yoke. I'm sure some of you might have heard of it. So it's like a quiz kind of extended quiz. Who can define what is poka-yoke? Japanese technique for what? So yeah, foolproofing, right? So actually, if you really research on what are the different engineering techniques that are involved in poka-yoke, definitely that is going to uplift your testing career like anything.